I am the Esports coordinator for the Federation of Motorsport Clubs of Uganda. So I don't do much of the combat sport that Desiree was talking about. I'm more majorly into the rallying things. But nonetheless, my esports journey, if I'm just to let you know, started about 2003. For those of you who are in Kampala, know the gaming parlor called Games for You. That's where we started out. And when Desiree was talking about the social challenges, I remember missing several of my lectures because we had a competition after 5 o'clock, going through. But that is the nature of eSport. It's a pleasure having you here for this summit in East Africa. And indeed, I think it's the biggest thing we've had for eSport in East Africa. A very strong panel I have with me here this morning. Allow me to save I'll not say the best for last, but since Uganda is the host, I'll have the introductions done quite differently. Again, just to reintroduce the panel that we have here today, we have Mr. Robert James Mwampembwa, the Vice President of the Esports Federation of Tanzania, to my extreme right. And we have Mr. Ronnie Ayumba Lusiji, the President of Esports Kenya Federation. It's a pleasure having you. And we have Mr. Boni Omara, the General Secretary of the Uganda Esports and Gaming Federation. The discussion here today is esports cooperation in Eastern Africa. Of course, these don't only make up the composition of East Africa. Of course, we have other delegates from within the region. Yes, the region from the Horn of Africa down further to the extreme ends of Lake Tanganyika, should I say. And again, to recognize those that had been previously introduced, Mr. Tirei Da from Djibouti, Mr. Yared Andel from Ethiopia, Fason Abraham from Madagascar, not quite part of East Africa, is it? Nonetheless, you're in the eastern part of West Africa. Then Mr. Syed Abdullah from Somalia, the Horn of Africa, and Mr. Tong Deng from South Sudan. Wonderful to have you here as leaders of the esports federations in the region. I'll start off this conversation with a very simple one. An extract from what Desiree said earlier in his introductory speech. Africa is late for esports. Are we catching that train late as well as East Africa? James, your thoughts?
Hello. Are we? Yes, we are. I'll take Tanzania as a guinea pig. Not a good word for this conversation. But you look, we have a median age of 18. I mean, Tanzania has 77% of people 35 years and below, which means it's probably one of the Africa's youth populated country. I don't know, Kenya should not be very far, but you have an internet penetration of 85 to 87%. You have electricity now going across all countries, or all regions of Tanzania. Most of the kids who played in the early 2000s are now actually into the working space. So the economy has been growing for quite some time, 4.5 to 7% in the last 10 years. So you have a situation where Tanzania is well positioned, but at the same time has East Africa community as a backbone and the integration that may allow it to access, 320 million people across East Africa, from Sudan to Sudan, Somalia, Congo. Congo itself, almost 110 million people. Tanzania itself is 70 million people. So we have the market. So what Desiree was saying is like, look, there's a huge market here, but we have not been able to create value in terms of gaining out of what we have actually surrounds us. So what are the problems? Could be all kinds of areas, from policy, from infrastructure, as is mentioned, etc., etc. So yeah, I agree with that statement.
Wow, very, very interesting. And again, you say Tanzania could be the guinea pig in this, but I would again throw this to Ronnie here. Admittedly, Kenya seems to have made some progress compared to the rest of us who are within the region. Maybe you caught the train a lot earlier than the rest of us. What is it that you've done quite differently that has created the warmth towards the desire for esport?
Thank you very much, Leon. Once again, my name is Ronnie Lusigi. I'm president of Esport Kenya Federation. I'm happy to join you here today. And esport means a lot to me. I grew up playing soccer and a lot of video games. And that today, video games make me meet a lot of people, new communities, new cultures. Just shows you the power of esports. You asked whether we are late, but I'd say two things. Better late than never, and there's nothing new under the sun. Others have also been late. Europe has been late in marathon. Yes. That Kenya, Ethiopia, Uganda does well. But what did they do that these days they also start to give us some competition? So yes, to some extent as a region, we are late, but we still have the time and the resource to catch up with the world, but to do it in a way that is really authentic to Africa, to East Africa in this case. As Desiree's presentation has shown, if our communities are playing a lot of mobile games, we need to take a leap into that. Borrow the example of Southeast Asia, which is now the leading region when it comes to mobile games. They look at the world, they looked at the PC games, and they saw we can't beat Europe in PC games, we can't beat China. But there's a lot of mobile penetration in Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Philippines, and they really took it on at scale. So for me, I think for us, it's also important that as we look at Esports World Cup and what is happening around esports in the world, is we find something that works well for our region and become the best at it. They've shown here Esports World Cup or Esports Nations Cup has 16 titles. It's the same as Olympics. You find what you are good at and you make a mark at that. Olympic Games, I think the last one had close to maybe 13 different sports. Kenya finds its mark in running, and then now it's scaling in other things. Uganda is the same. You'll go to Balkan states who do well in shot puts, pole vault, and those other things. So it is looking at what are the people in your home area doing and how can you scale it. Because you also cannot come and tell people this is a very big game in the world, I want you to start playing. It's also not our responsibility or even our ability to make a game popular. It's to look at a game that is being played by people in our community and then creating a structure for esports for that game. Other than coming and say, this is a nice game, it has a lot of money, and you should play it.
Great. I will be talking about the structures later on, but to Bonnie here, Ronnie speaks about better late than never. What is Uganda's story? Are we never there, or we are just as well, regardless, we'll catch the bus?
Yes, thank you, Leon. Once again, I'm called Bonnie Omara. Welcome to Uganda for the people who have just come here for their first time. Yeah, about that point, I agree with my brother Ronnie about the point of better late than never. We as Uganda Esports and Gaming Federation, we believe there's a lot to explore, there's a lot to learn, and esports in Uganda is promising because we've had 2 international competitions, one in Russia, Moscow last year, that taken BRICS esports competitions. Then this year we've had ECAF in Morocco, which I would say it's a good opportunity for our players to get to learn about different skills. It's good opportunity for our federation to get noticed as we try to push home, our government issues and laws. We're trying to sort it, but we're not resting. We're trying to push as the Uganda Esports. So, yeah, better late than never, but we believe the Uganda Esports will get there very soon. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Bonnie. Getting there is the story for Uganda, Kenya. The strides have been made. Tanzania, certainly not still the guinea pig they're in, like you say. But the rest of East Africa is also involved. And kindly, Lorna, help me with the microphone. I would want to pick the mind of Tong there on the strides that South Sudan has possibly made with regard to esport.
Thank you. Can you say the question again?
Just how far has South Sudan gone with its journey around esport? Is it still at the baby stage or not yet even birthed at all?
Okay. Thank you so much for that question. This is a very good question that to address. Actually, South Sudan is still very far away from the esport because we don't have infrastructure in place yet. But we have the advantage of having South Sudanese almost everywhere in the world, and they are playing there. And one of the good examples is Kenya, because we have very good players in Kenya, of which one of the players that we brought here today actually came from Kenya. And we have them everywhere. So it is not an issue, it is an issue that we have the game, we will bring our players because we have identified where our players are. And I can say it is a blessing for South Sudan. So we are actually, indirectly, we are not good at home because we don't have a structure, but we have people who are even far ahead than others, which are playing in other countries. Just take example of our basketball.
Yes.
Most of our basketball just came from around the world and they are excellent in Africa. Thank you so much.
Sure, thank you very much with those interesting insights in things South Sudan. They don't have the infrastructure, but they have the players. The players are in Kenya. Ronnie, I think a tournament between Kenya and South Sudan, the result would be quite different therein. Yeah, but nonetheless, let's move on to talk the regulatory frameworks. Of course, we are all here under a federation or association, whichever it may be. But the sets of laws that lead us to the formation of those national federations or associations for esport are quite different. And the stories therein are very different everywhere. James, what do the laws, or how have the laws allowed you to easily set up the federation in Tanzania and the progress therein thus far?
Well, I believe the Tanzanian story is more or less an African story in terms of the legal and regulatory framework. We have old laws. You know, the law that governs sports, so we call it National Council of Sports, was made in 1967. You know, with few amendments here and there, is old. So esports is a new kid on the block. So when esports came and was actually registered and recognized by the government, and that means it's just 2024. That was Esports Federation registered. It has to go along with the concoction of laws that exist in the country. You know, from cybersecurity to what we call EPOCA, that means electronic and postal communication law. I believe it's in Uganda and Kenya as well. Where you have the creative side, where you have what we call Basata law or National Council law. That was 1984. So there are quite a number of laws that have we needed to work with. The registration itself was difficult because it's designed as an administrative pool. I mean, you have to go to regions. Tanzania is a huge country. It doesn't look so on the map when I'm looking at it. I don't know about you guys, but it's a big country. to go everywhere, connecting with clubs. Sometimes they don't exist. And there's the law states that you have to at least get 2/3. So the legal and regulatory framework is difficult. However, the government was very understanding. So they first gave us what we call provisional registration, and it allowed us to operate. The government is not supposed to give us any support. I mean, it's so far not giving us, the running costs. So we have to go along and pay for the federation. We have now a responsibility to set up a regulatory framework in terms of competitions and all that kind of plus. Now we have to go along and pick understanding the laws of the country and therefore concord our regulations. However, needs a lot of awareness across the country. A lot of people, as the story will go with Kenya, go along and start competitions.
Anywhere.
And they don't know your federation, so who are you? They can figure out. So we need to go further into issues of awareness so that to create a huge community out of smaller communities. And so far we have succeeded. Places like Arusha, Dar es Salaam, Dodoma, and Mbeya is coming up to shape. These are the biggest cities in the country, and Mwanza as well. And we think that as we go along, we are going to push the government towards proper regulatory framework, especially now that the government has formed what we call Wizara ya Vijana, which means the youth ministry. We have never had a youth ministry, but specifically for youth. And we had a lot of conversation with them, with the minister, with PS, the permanent secretary, and we are working towards that direction whereby we can get proper legal and regulatory framework. Because as a federation on your own, you really can't. It needs the backing of the government. So at least we are doing well in that respect. We hope that in a few years' time, when certain policies are being passed up, startup policy, investment law, here and there, we have our inputs in those
areas.
Yes.
Was it any easy for you? His story is about, I have to go through the whole of Tanzania from the south to the north, east and west to be fully recognized. Are the requirements the same for you in Kenya, or were they the same for you in Kenya?
Yes, I'd say they are quite similar, and the challenge of esports is the challenge of the digital economy or the digital world that we live in. Because when you talk about regulation, everything that the whole world has been doing is looking at things in black and white. But the digital economy has given birth to things like esports, which are neither black or white. So you need to find multiple ways of harnessing it, multiple ways of protecting it, multiple ways of developing it. And that is the biggest challenge of esports, because you answer two questions. Primarily, esports comes from video gaming. So video gaming is at much a social activity.
Yeah.
Okay? And it lives in the digital economy. You give in your personal information, sometimes your financial information using your business card, and much more other things that is tied to cybersecurity and other things. Then you have esports, which is the practice of competitive video gaming. You see? So before you come to esports, other things need to be functioning well in the side of video gaming. Now, the challenge has always been that everyone expects from esports to sort all of this, which is not possible.
True.
But what we really need is to create the bridges of partnership. How do we partner? I like taking the example of Malaysia again. How do we partner esports with the Ministry of ICT? How do we partner esports with the Ministry of Education? How do we partner esports now with the Ministry of Sports? Where the Ministry of Sports looks at the competitive side and every other thing. The Ministry of ICT looks at video games. Are they the right video games according to the laws of the country? PUBG Mobile is an example. In India, PUBG Mobile had to alter their game a little bit to fit the law
of the country.
India.
Yeah.
So that becomes a question where do we have enough knowledgeable people in ICT ministry, and how do we have multiple engagements and a challenge because sometimes in esports, people just want to play games. People just want the entertainment.
They don't want the legal issues around.
Yes, but nobody else will do it if we don't do it. That's why we need partnerships with people who are also outside esports, sports lawyers, administrators, legislators. You need this to be able to move forward. Desiree has mentioned a good example. The engagement with President Macron changed a lot of esports in France because 3 or 4 years ago he says, I want France to have multiple esports competitions.
Yes.
And what have you, and you see it even boosting investor confidence because at the core, video gaming is investment. If you are telling a video game company like Tencent, who are valued at $5 trillion, and invest in a video game server, to place a video game server in Nairobi, they need to feel safe that the regulations will protect them, for example. So it's about, I'd say, we should never tire. We should continue to create this bridge. And maybe our nations need, in the model of Malaysia, apart from esport federations, you also need a body that looks at video games as digital economy. Video games as digital economy. Yeah.
I like the fact that you bring in the benchmarking because the systems around Africa and what the rest of the world is like with regard to esport are entirely different. And just as much, the way the governance processes are very different. What James there is saying, the coverage of areas within the country is very much the same for Boni's requirements in Uganda. As far as I know, the national sports law now requires federations, entities or sports entities that want to become federations in this country to cover 114 districts in the country. Uganda has 146 districts. To become an association, you must cover approximately 75 districts in the country. Boni, esport and gaming, the word is federation. Are you in 114 districts in this country?
Thank you so much, Leon. We are not yet, we've not hit that target yet. We went and met with the National Council of Sports Administrators. They gave us their constitution and laws. Unfortunately, the esports laws were a bit different from the sports cultural or traditional laws in Uganda. But the lawyer advised us as the Uganda Esports, and they gave us the, I would say, permission to try and push the sport since it's new and people don't know about it so much. They gave us the permission to promote and try to see if we can reach the target. And I would say that so far so good. We're pushing, we're trying to reach as many communities as possible. We're trying to create awareness. Nonetheless, we're trying to partner with different international federations, because for you to push an esports activity or competitions in a country, it needs some bit of funding and support, which I would not say me, I would pull it out. I will need a collaboration.
A lot of support somewhere.
Exactly. So we are trying, and as I said earlier, we are close, and very soon the Uganda Esports Federation will get there.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
And that brings me to the question of control. Are there any challenges with UEGF with regard to control of esport in the country, or because now it is probably at the baby steps, there's not that fighting and pulling here?
Well, I would not say that there is too much of fighting, honestly. The only challenge we have is that different esports institutions and, let's say, clubs are not willing to cooperate It might sound kind of a bit mean or something, but I'm just trying to be honest. Because if you say you're an esports club and you're trying to push the game or promote or grow esports, and you hear that there is a federation trying to grow, I believe it's better if we work together, because esports is not mine alone. Esports is for all of us. It's for Africa. It's for East Africa, you know? So we have to work together. That's one of the challenges we have.
Great. And I see Ronnie bringing that. Yeah. And Ronnie, before you make mention of anything, I pick an extract from an article written by Neko Kibe, August 2025, African Esports and the Politics of Control. And he opines therein, in Africa esports, the fight is often between those who legitimately want and can build esports versus those who claim ownership of the scene. Ron, is something you're very familiar with.
Yes, because the challenge always for everyone in esports, whether you're a federation or you're a club, is to show the other person value. All of us have that challenge. When you tell someone, I'd like you to be a member in the federation, the question becomes, what is in it for me? Which is a good question, a legitimate question.
Yes.
Desiree, for example, mentioned he expected many women to be sent by their federations. Then the question becomes, we should first understand where esport is, as Bonnie has rightfully put it. Unlike other markets or other continents where the video game publishers are putting in money to grow esports, in Africa, these people are up.
Yes.
So if I am operating from London, I have offices of all these video game making companies in London, and in a year they're putting in millions of dollars to use esports to promote their game, because esports is a marketing tool for them.
Absolutely.
Therefore, they put up the checks and balances. They say, if you want to organize a tournament with my game, I need to see the venue. I need to know the venue is safe. I need you to look at the age limit. I need to know it will be 16 plus or it will be 18 plus. But they don't give a damn about Africa. Honestly, it's not a market for them. The average revenue per user of a video gamer in Kenya is a maximum of $20.
Yes.
The average revenue per user of a video gamer in Abu Dhabi is 370.
And annually?
So one video gamer in Abu Dhabi is equivalent to over 200 video gamers in Kampala, in Nairobi. So that is why you really do need at least a body and people to come together. And then we need a lot of voluntary work, first of all, because no federation, no country is set up in a way that a federation receives annual funding from a government.
But it is the mindset we have on the continent. I joined this federation, I need to at least have a paycheck at the end of the month for the effort I put in.
And then the second question comes to the article you've quoted, which is now a legitimacy question. Most of the people in esports are young people. When I sit with most of the people in esports community in Kenya, some of them consider me old. And I just turned 31 as an example. So most of the youth also, as I said in the beginning, need to get involved in the boring work. Because you'll find somebody saying, because I am passionate about video game, I should be the CEO of the federation. Your passion for video games, sorry to say, is the last consideration for you to be a CEO. A CEO is somebody whose first consideration should be administrative ability. Can you create pathways of partnership between the federation and the esports community with private sector? Can you lobby for support from the government? How can you lobby for support from institutional partners like the French embassy and other developmental partners? So your passion for video games is good, but you can't say, oh, now the problem with Africa is the people leading federations. All the successful federations, I don't remember watching Gianni Infantino play football. I don't remember watching Patrice Motsepe play football. But I know that in the 4 years, of the 5 years that Patrice Motsepe led CAF, their revenues have increased, the standard of the AFCON has increased. So it's a challenge for us in esports. Apart from our passion of video game, one, we need to educate ourselves in administration. Yes. And two, we also need to accommodate people from other sectors. When we hosted last year the PUBG Mobile Africa Championship in partnership with Sages and Desire, we found opportunity to work with Tencent, which is a very big company. And it was an eye-opener for us. We say to ourselves, honestly, in the Kenyan esports community at the moment, we need a lot of professional input from outside.
Yes.
Because there are many instances that we were stuck. And you've even heard Moses from Arudem say here, there are many things they've learned from Sages by being organizing this event.
Yes.
Because from your hostel or from your room, you may think, I am passionate, but it's a question of knowledge. And if you want to be involved now in public administration like federation, it's a question of following processes. You must follow the process to be a member of parliament. Yes. So you must follow the process to set up a federation. You cannot say passion.
And you must know those processes.
And there's no passionometer. Nobody has a measure of passion or legitimacy.
Talking about passionometers, you speak about the age, 31. Bonnie could be younger. James, I don't think you are 31. No. But what Ronnie speaks about, the attitudes around the younger generation and the need to have leadership that fits within their age clusters. Quite different, I want to believe it is in Tanzania.
Difficult question. What I believe anywhere, what the administrative part of esports needs is expertise. You go to football, the federation people are not even playing football, they are not even younger. They manage, you go to FIFA, you go all over across the world, it's not the question. Yeah, Esports World Cup as well, yes. So the issue is an ability to talk about policies, talk about regulation framework, talk about infrastructure, talk about, integrating these new technologies and in context with your country. So to move any sport, it needs that expertise, that knowledge from those people who can actually do it. And esports is no different.
Is not any different.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I think I'm glad that all three of you, and possibly the sentiment is shared the same with all the other East Africa, with Mr. Deng as well. The challenge between those who lead esport in your respective countries, the differences in the age group clusters they are in, and the mindset that there is around who should be able to lead this kind of thing. There's an old adage that goes, you don't need to have been a horse to be a good jockey. You don't need to have been, the horse to take charge on how to ride the horse. So I think we need to keep preaching that gospel on, come with your competences to be the administrator, to guide the federations to where it should be. That is one challenge. But let's dive into the other areas of the challenges: technological challenges, economic challenges, and the sociological challenges. Quickly, James, which of these three comes to the top of the challenges you possibly have in Tanzania?
Interesting question. The challenges in Tanzania would, I believe, not differ from most African countries. Mostly is planning. I mean, Africa absorbs technology like probably no other. Look at the use of mobile phones. Look at the use of M-Pesa. So everywhere you go, there's an adaptation towards technology. You go to all the places kids play. My brother from Sudan here said, people play everywhere. People love this esports. People love video games. You go home, you're a kid, you throw your phone there. What does your kid do?
They're asking you for the game.
Yeah, I want your phone because they want to play a game.
And then you complain, my battery is down.
Yeah.
My data I don't have.
I don't have data, exactly the point. And it has gone further. Now, particularly in major cities, these kids are playing with others, of course, everywhere across the world, through streaming. And some of them are winning titles. So I don't see technology as a threat. AI is coming in. We should be able to talk about that, how it is. What we want in a medium to the future, to the long term, is for Africa to develop their own games. This is a possibility. We have the creativity, we have the people, we have the youth, we have the market. So what I would say is actually planning. We want to see planning at the government level, strategically, saying, from this date to this year, we will develop in terms of infrastructure, in terms of policy, in terms of regulatory framework, in terms of investments.
And I think that is what Ronnie was saying earlier, to have a proper understanding, general understanding of what esport or gaming that is electronically, from the person who makes the policies down to the person who, maybe the parent themselves who's stopping their child from playing. But Ronnie, again, yes.
Just a second. You see the figures that Desiree was showing us. You mean we are drafting football, we are drafting all other film. Looks very small compared to esports. It is no difference in Africa.
Does your policymaker see that? Do they see the money?
So what they do is, if you go to Tanzanian budget, if you go to their strategic plan in terms of sports, you see football. Ronnie here says the government doesn't support federation. But in Tanzania, a lot of money. They give them planes to go to Morocco, to everywhere. They put a lot of money in football federation.
And talking about a lot of money in football federation, you just signed a partnership with KFK, right? Football and esport. The synergies therein. Is it part of the progress in trying to grow that which you are building?
Yes, Leon, because if you speak of challenges, there's internal challenges and external challenges. They say if there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us nothing. Yes. So let us start with within ourselves in esports. And I'll repeat, our biggest challenge is we need to educate ourselves. Our biggest challenge is knowledge and expertise gap. We need the people passionate in esports to scale up in terms of processes, how we do our competitions, how we do our photography, how we do our media, how we do our branding, how we do our documentation, and all these things. Then secondly, from the outside, we are in Africa. Sport in Africa is, first of all, the biggest investor of sports in Africa is government, unlike in the West. So we need to bring esports conversations to the national level conversation, because we need spaces like this. I've looked at this space and I've said, surely all the governments in East Africa can afford to put up a place like this, yes, the same way they put up a stadium.
Maybe so we should get the members of parliament, coming and playing Tekken. Yeah, the female members of parliament for a competition tomorrow. They come and get, I don't know if they'll get beaten or otherwise, but so they can understand the
yes,
concepts of this.
We need to not tire in speaking with public administration, because look at entertainment and sport. It is not private sector that is the biggest investor.
But government.
So you can't ignore the biggest investor. And the biggest investor means it's not a one-day conversation, a one-month conversation, a one administration conversation. It can be the next president. It can be this current administration. Whoever it is, we need to find a framework. How do we speak with our regional governments? For example, last year when we were hosting the Africa Championship, the government of Nairobi City provided us with a venue. It may look like a small thing, but having a hall for 5 days, you've saved close to 50,000 USD. So it's part of us. That's why we form partnerships with FKF and others. Is about bringing esports to the national conversation.
Great. Ladies and gentlemen, as we wind down, it is Women's Day celebration tomorrow. The competition starts proper very much today and tomorrow. You are the federation leaders. Briefly, what commitments are you putting forward to having more women in esport? Bonnie.
Thank you so much. We as Uganda Esports, we believe so much with working with the women. We equally recognize them the same way we as the men who are running the esports in Uganda recognize each other. And it's an excitement that tomorrow there is a tournament as we celebrate the Women's Day. It's really special. It's one of the first ever edition to be happening in Uganda. Yeah, and we as the Uganda Esports believe and respect the fact that the women exist, and we are open to work with the women in our federations, and they will have, and some have positions in the cabinet.
A lot of work to do. Well, still some work being done. Ronnie, commitments for women in e-sport in Kenya?
Commitment is a heavy word, my brother, but I'd put it as an assurance. Mine is to encourage all the women who are here to not only play, but also take part in other aspects of esports. I'm happy to see we have Casey from Esports Africa News taking up media. In Kenya, right now, one of the biggest streamers, Mitch Gaming. She's not the biggest women streamer. She's among the biggest streamers of esports in Kenya. And let us not tire in developing or in taking part in esports. We know the scales are not as best as we'd like it to be, but let us not tire. Last 2 years ago, we organized on Women's Day a Women in Esports Forum, and we tasked 3 or 4 girls to continue with that, but we never saw them again. So I'd invite them, apart from playing, our doors are always open. Let's also come and take part in administration. Don't leave it to us alone.
James, your final word, assurance or commitment?
Yes. I think for us, what we have is we have now launched our strategic plan, a 5-year development strategic plan. So in it, what we have done is that to make sure that the game is safe for women. There is no bullying, there is no sexual harassment, there is no
safeguarding, issues of safeguarding.
Exactly, and we're very strict to all the competitors, all the games that are being played, that we are regulating. And then what we have is that we are pushing towards the games that the federations, the championship that we are preparing to have a 50-50. So we have in December Chip Keys Cup. A lot of Ugandan academies come to Tanzania in Arusha. So we have that there, and we are pushing for a 50-50. The challenge is there may not be enough women playing those kind of games. Yeah, and next year we are going to have an election. So that's the time to have women into the federation as well. So we hope next year in Swahili or if somewhere else, we'll have a woman president sitting here from Tanzania.
Great, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, please, a round of applause for our panelists here. Mr. Robert James Mapembwa from Tanzania, Ronnie Ayumba Lusiji from Kenya, and Boni Omara from Uganda. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you very much for your insights